If you want 2025 to be the best year of your life so far, the absolute best, I'm going to show you how to do it, break it down the same way I've done it in 8 steps. Now I'm going to get really tactical on this because I've outlined some notes here, going through exactly how I've done this in my journey. I'm going to start with how you become him or her and eventually lead you into unlocking freedom mode. Now, I'm Brody Vinson. I've been a full-time entrepreneur now for about 4 years, and I did this by first changing my reality and then ultimately getting myself into the type of reality that I wanted to create for myself. I'm going to break that down in this video. Now, step number 1 is you're going to become him. In other words, the person you want to be, or her. And you have to change your habits. The first thing that you need to do is you need to surround yourself with the right habits. This means fitness. You need to have your fitness in check. You need to have your habits in check. You need to be into self-improvement. If you ever want to unlock your business goals, you have to fall in love with self-improvement because business is the ultimate expression and form of self-improvement. And before I was ever in business, I had got really obsessed with self-improvement, and I've only gotten more and more obsessed with self-improvement. The next thing that you have to do, and this one's really, really tough for people, but you absolutely must change your circle of influence around you. Friends, family. Family is the tough one that people usually don't like to hear, but some of you have family members that are causing you not to reach your goals because of the way they treat you, the expectations they have of you, the projections that they cast on you. This is the worst thing that could ever happen to you because these things are like, they could be like crabs in a bucket. Even family members, but often friends can be like crabs in a bucket where, you try to climb up and get out of a situation and get into a better situation, and they see that you're doing great, and then they pull you back in. And it's not even necessarily always their fault, but it happens. You want to get rid of anyone in your circle that complains, that is lazy, that has low confidence. These types of things are ultimately just going to keep you down, and this is so dangerous. You must surround yourself with people that are good for you. The next thing that you have to do is you have to change your priorities. When I was in college, towards the end, I think it was my junior year of college, up through the first years of college, I was going out all the time, I was drinking, I was still getting straight A's and B's and doing really well in my classes, meeting a lot of people, and I was succeeding by all measures, but I was out of shape, I was out drinking all the time, I was unhealthy, and ultimately I had to really change my priorities. So I actually took an entire month off of drinking and just didn't drink at all for a month. And I found that I was sleeping better, I was way healthier, I was starting to pick up better habits, I was picking up more productive habits, working on myself, reading, self-improvement stuff, doing stuff like that. And this was a really huge turning point for me very early on. This is where I first fell in love with self-improvement. Now, the other thing that you have to do is you have to actually change your own personal narrative. Through the course of this time, as I was starting to change my habits, change my circle, I started spending less time with people that were bad for me. All these things I've talked about so far. I also started changing my own personal mindset. I started changing the story that I told about myself. Instead of telling myself that I was the guy that went out, I was the guy that did this and did that and partied, all this stuff, I started telling myself, no, I'm the guy that works out, that stays fit, that eats well, that does all these things for self-improvement. And I also started changing my information diet. The same way that you have to change your diet for what you eat, you also have to change your diet for what you actually consume as an information diet. So if you're brain rotting on TikTok all day with bullshit, that's so bad for you. You don't realize how much that's actually holding you back. I love a good old brain rot video every once in a while, but if you're doing this regularly and you're spending a lot of your time on it, this is going to hold you back, and 2025 will not be a good year for you. So change your information diet. Start flooding your information diet, the things you read, the things you watch, the things that you spend your time around and pay attention to. Start replacing them instead of all this brain rot and doom scrolling and bullshit on TikTok that you have been. Start replacing it with self-improvement, podcasts, audiobooks, books, educational videos that can actually help you achieve the things you're trying to achieve, like this video that you're watching right now. And if you are appreciating this video so far, go ahead and like it and subscribe. I put out this kind of content as often as I can, and my goal in 2025 is to put out even more, so stay tuned. The last thing that you have to do to become him or her is you have to change your self-talk and your self-perception. This goes around the same lines of changing your story that you have to do for yourself. So the story that you tell yourself really leads from the self-talk and perception that you have of yourself. If you see yourself as low confidence, if you see yourself as someone who struggles to put yourself out there, you have to really change that story that you're telling yourself and the way that you think about yourself, which leads me into step number 2, which is to brainwash yourself into being someone who will succeed. You don't just flick a switch one day and become successful. Ultimately, it takes a lot of time, but it starts with a complete change of mindset. You have to literally brainwash yourself. And this reminds me of when I was getting in shape. Like I said, I took the month off drinking. One of the early things that I did in those first couple of years is I decided I wanted to run a 15K, which is almost 9.5 miles. And I wanted to do it in a really impressive time. I ended up running it in a 7.5 minute mile, and it was because I trained really hard for it. And I'll be totally honest with you, I fucking hated running. Hated it. I could not stand it. But this was just something that I knew would increase my confidence. And so in leading up to this, I literally brainwashed myself into making myself think that I liked running at the time. And to this day, now that I'm out of that whole situation, I'll be honest, I still don't like running. But during that time, I was literally telling myself, you love running, you love this, you enjoy this, that you're having a great time with this. I was literally brainwashing myself with my self-talk, and it was so good for me. I knew that the running was something that was good for me, that was going to help me achieve these goals that I had. So I simply brainwashed myself into doing the things that I knew it took to be successful. You want to brainwash yourself into putting in the inputs and the work that you know will lead to the outputs and becoming the person that you want. And this is how you consistently just do this. So your new mantra is you love the work. You love working out, you love eating well, you don't love video games, you don't love binging TV shows, you don't love scrolling on social media, doom scrolling, you don't love brain rotting, you don't love going out, you don't love drinking, you don't love doing drugs, you don't like laying around and doing all this bullshit that you've been doing. You don't love spending money on wasteful things. You do love saving money or reinvesting it into your education or yourself. You do love investing your time and money into growing yourself and being a better person. You do love self-improvement. This is your new mantra. Literally brainwash yourself, tell yourself these things, write them down, whatever the fuck it takes. I'm not even joking when I say I used to write out these things, these self-talk things, and tape them on the wall of my room, of my bedroom, and literally read them out to myself. Sometimes when people came over to my house and saw this, it was a little embarrassing, but so what? Who fucking cares? I just did this because I knew that it would work. I brainwashed myself, and I'm better off for it because I convinced myself that I was him, that I wanted to do these things that I knew would lead to better outcomes for my life. Which brings me to number 3. Step 3 is in the same vein of having to boost yourself up and give yourself all this self-talk. There is balance to that. You do need to humble yourself. You can't have just all this delusional confidence and not balance that out with humbling yourself, because then you're just going to look like a dick. You're going to look like a douche. You're going to sound like an asshole, and people won't like that. So you need to humble yourself. So this comes with ditching any entitlement, any expectation that everything is going to work out for you if you don't put in the work or anything like that. I want to tell you a little story. In the first business that I was a part of, there was one of the partners that we started this business with who, made it out to be like he really cared about all of us and he was trying to help us and mentor us. At the time, I was 24 years old. He was about 34, so he was about 10 years older than me. And he became this kind of mentor figure and really seemed like he was going to help us have all this success. And, it made me feel like I was like, oh, this is awesome. This guy has taken some kind of interest in me. I must be hot shit because I'm only 24 and he wants to help me out. And then we got our first contract for this business. We made about $150,000 in profit, and he stole all of it, every single penny, for other business interests that he had. He literally stole it, embezzled the money right out of our accounts. And this was really humbling for me because I realized, you know what? You're not hot shit. You actually are naive. You don't know what you're talking about. And the more I've gotten into business, the more I realize that, like, the more that I learn and the deeper I get into it, the more I realize I just don't know. So whenever I've had these humbling moments where I've been humbled in this way and I've had some really big failure or some difficulty that I've gone through that I know in part was my fault, I always try to use that to humble myself and remember that I don't know everything. I don't have all the answers. And the more that you humble yourself and just become a student of anyone that you talk to and learn from, the more that you can actually start to learn lessons and improve yourself from those who have figured out how to do things before. Like while you're watching this video, you're probably having to humble yourself and tell yourself there are some things that maybe I'm really good at some things that this guy Brody is not good at, but there's also probably some things that he's experienced and that he knows that I don't. And that you might have to humble yourself to do that. I've certainly had to humble myself in a lot of ways to learn from a lot of people that I aspire to be like. The next thing is learn that along the same lines of being humble, understand that the world owes you absolutely nothing and no one cares about you like you think they do. And in reality, anyone who does care about you actually only just cares about the version of you that best suits them. And so what? Doesn't matter. It's not that big of a deal. The sooner you accept this, the better you will feel because you won't be let down all the time. If you have all these expectations that people like genuinely just like are altruistic, you're fooling yourself. It's not the case. And it's not that big of a deal. It's just human nature. Come to grips with it. The sooner you do come to grips with it, the better you'll function, the better you'll be. And it doesn't really matter whether people care about you in this way or not. You can use this to your advantage. If you understand that people actually just care about the version of you that best suits them, you can start to align yourself. Remember, I talked about changing your circle earlier. You can start to align yourself with people whose vision of you is the same, and the version of you that best suits them is the same version that you actually want for yourself. So if you have this goal for yourself, if you want to be an entrepreneur, if you want to succeed in your current job, whatever that might be, if you can align yourself with people who want that for you and who would benefit if that happens and just genuinely want to see you succeed, you are going to be so much freaking better off. And if you understand that, you can recognize that. You can also recognize when you're aligned with people who might not want the same version of you that you want for yourself. And to be honest, I've had to ditch a lot of friends and start not spending time with as many friends that wanted versions of me that maybe suited them at the time, but weren't the versions of me that I wanted for myself. That guy that used to go out and party and drink all the time, maybe was funny and maybe was fun to hang out with and to drink with. That wasn't the version of myself that I wanted for myself. And I had a lot of friends who did want that version of me because it was funny for them. It was a good time. And I had to cut those ties and ultimately realize that that wasn't the best thing for me. The next part of humbling yourself is you have to become stoic as fuck. If you're not familiar with stoicism, in simplest terms, it means being calm and unemotional throughout processes that could otherwise rock your world. So when things are really great, don't let yourself get too excited and too comfortable. When things are not so great, don't let yourself get too down on it either. Try to stay steady, stay even keeled, stay in the middle. Don't let yourself fluctuate all over the place. Don't make things out to be bigger than they are. Just stay even keeled and you will find that you are way more consistent and productive with the things that you need to be doing for yourself. The next thing, step 4, is you need to create the conditions for your luck. So I define luck as when opportunity meets preparation. What I mean by that is luck is real, but it is not just a thing that happens to you without you doing anything. When you become someone, when you become him and you change yourself, you brainwash yourself into being someone who's going to be successful, and then you're also humbled, you create the preparation and also the ability to recognize opportunities. So when you're prepared and you have the ability from things you've learned to recognize opportunities, and you've surrounded yourself with good people that bring opportunities, only then are you able to actually recognize those opportunities and capitalize on them? And when that preparation meets that opportunity, that's when luck happens and good things start happening to you. Businesses come together. You make money. You level up in the world. You get fit. You get in shape. You start making better friends. You form great relationships, maybe a romantic relationship that helps you that you always wanted. This is when good things happen to you. And all the stuff before that was the preparation. All the things that we've done up to this point have been the preparation that lead to this luck. So start putting yourself out there now. You have to start putting yourself out there or you will not see these opportunities. If you aren't talking about the things that you're working on and actually putting yourself out there, you will not be able to be given these opportunities because no one will know that you're looking for them. So literally just put yourself out there, try to find these things, whether it's going to networking events to meet the right people, whether it's networking with people on social media rather than just doom scrolling on it. You need to do these things. I've done all these things. I do these things regularly, even though I've made a lot of the connections I want to make so far. I will never be done doing this, and I will always be working on this because you have to do it to continue finding opportunities. The next thing is if you are working a job right now and you want to become an entrepreneur, don't quit your job yet at this step. Keep working your job, but you're going to have to start changing your habits a little bit. You need to start doing the work of whatever it is you want to do. So let's say for simple purposes, you want to start just a nice boring business that makes money. Let's say you want to start a cleaning business. You should start actually going out and doing the work on weekends or after work hours or something when you're not working your regular hours. And you should actually start going and cleaning houses or cleaning, commercial locations or whatever it is so that you can actually start making that money and establishing that business before you ever quit your job. It is a massive leap to go jump straight into entrepreneurship. Many people have been successful with it, but many have also failed. And you do not want to fail in a way that keeps you from ever doing it and makes you have to return to working a job and not doing that. So to tell you a story, when I first got involved with the first business that I founded, I had a few partners. And the reason I was able to find this business in the first place is, I'm practicing what I'm preaching in this video. I was getting prepared and then an opportunity presented itself. What I mean by that is while I was working a full-time job, I was working a full-time 9 to 5. It was a remote job, so I had some extra time on my hands where I would do these things. But even if you don't work a remote job, you and I both know you've got plenty of time in the day where you're not working that you could be doing work. That's just the truth. Don't try to bullshit me and tell me that you're literally working for 8 hours straight, because in reality you're probably watching Netflix on the job or listening to podcasts or doing something that's not work. And you could definitely be replacing some of that time with work. Don't tell your boss, they don't need to know. Still get your job done. Just work on the side. Everyone's doing it. You have to start creating your reality of the work that you want to be doing before you can actually take that full jump. So when I first started this business, I was doing all this freelance work on the side while I was working my 9 to 5. This freelance work and the putting myself out there, helping people with marketing stuff like email blasts, even stuff as simple as like helping business owners create invoices, ended up leading me to meet 3 business partners that helped me start this business called Chef on the Fly. It was a staffing company. And then for 9 months of working on this business on the side of my other job that was fairly demanding. It wasn't like I had all the hours in the day. It was a fairly demanding job. But I was spending every waking hour that I could working on this other business to figure out how it was going to allow me to go full time and make that next step. And eventually, 9 months into it, we got a big break and we got a giant contract. And it was so big that it allowed me to go full time because it was bringing in all this profit. Now, ultimately, I didn't get to keep any of that money because my partner stole it and we had to kick him out of the company. But the point is, at the time, I realized this was going to be bringing in a lot of money. Let me go jump to this and actually go to that now that it's been proven. And if your opportunity is not proven yet, you should not go ahead and jump to it yet. Now, while you're learning all this, while you're becoming someone who's prepared and ready for opportunity, your job, aside from your regular job, if you still have one, is to become a problem solver. If you haven't been an entrepreneur before, this is the number one skill of being an entrepreneur, is simply just to be someone who solves problems. That means if your business needs more sales, you learn how to get good at sales. If your business needs more opportunities, you get good at marketing. If you're disorganized, you get good at productivity and organization. You just become what you need to become to make the business succeed, and that is a professional problem solver. So the more you can develop that bone, that muscle of not looking at problems as things that can't be solved, but just things that haven't been, that you don't know how to solve yet, and you need to go seek out the information to do so, that will serve you very well. Now, the next best, easiest place to start is an extension of what you're already doing. So when I was in this job that I told you about, I was working in marketing. I was basically marketing for Marriott hotels. So I had the skill of marketing, and specifically digital marketing. What I ended up doing is I became one of the guys that was working on digital marketing. So the website, email, campaigns, anything like that of our business that we started, because that was my foot in the door. This was a way that I could actually just extend things I already knew how to do. I didn't try to go into something completely new that I didn't know how to do. I tried to use the skills that I had and the knowledge that I had in a way that I felt like I could leverage to actually start this business. So whatever it is that your job is right now, if you still have one, you figure out some natural extension of that that helps put you in a position where you're working for yourself, and then just start doing that. If you're a recruiter, start doing recruiting placements on the side, as long as it doesn't ruffle the feathers of whoever you're working with. Do it in a different geographic region or whatever. Just figure out a way to do it on the side. The next part of like creating luck is that you have to first eliminate distractions. So there's all this stuff that we've talked about, the video games, the going out, all this stuff that you don't have time to be spending your time on, and you're like, it's a complete waste for you to be spending your time on while you're trying to figure this out. You need to start one by one eliminating those distractions, because to make space for the life that you want to have, you have to first get rid of the things in your life that you don't want to have. And those things might feel good now, but you have to realize that they're not for you in the long term. So eliminate the distractions and do the work instead. Do the work that you know you need to do, that you've been putting off, that you need to do instead to get this going. Now, the next thing is you need to be thinking about the long term. You need to develop a very, very long-term view and start realizing that you might have to do a bunch of free work to get started. You're not proven yet. You've humbled yourself up to this point. You might have to do a bunch of free work or a bunch of very cheap work. I know I did when I was first starting out, before I ever found my partners. I did a bunch of stuff for free. I still do a bunch of stuff for free because it helps me get foots in the door for other opportunities. But you might have to do a bunch of free stuff, and you might have to really work hard and think about the long term before you ever have any kind of payoff. Like I said before, it was 9 months of putting in all this work, and we actually were in the negative. We'd spent money and time before we ever made a single dollar on this business, because I knew that eventually we would have that hockey stick kind of growth, and we would unlock growth and revenue that changed my life, and it ended up changing my life. Now, the next thing is you need to detach yourself from the appearance of others' success. You need to focus on you, because you owe it to yourself to only be focused on your own goals. So if you're comparing yourself to people who've already been successful all the time, stop it. You're on your own journey, and you need to be focused on how you can get from the step you're at to the next step of whatever your goals are. That's it. Don't compare yourself to others' success. Most of it that you see on social media is probably bullshit anyways. And so if you're comparing yourself to something that's not even true, what does that say about you? What is that going to do for your goals? Probably nothing. Step number 5 is you need to stay open and go into kill mode. Kill mode is something that has been a personal motto of mine for the last 6 months, because you need to develop a killer instinct for opportunities and a sense of urgency to go along with it. When you see these opportunities that you created the ability to recognize, you need to be ready to go into absolute kill mode. When I saw that first opportunity with these business partners that I talked about with Chef on the Fly while I was working my other job, something switched in me and I went into kill mode because I saw this opportunity. I saw that this was something I could not just achieve on my own. I had these partners I was partnering with, and I could actually do this thing and potentially use this to become a full-time entrepreneur. So I developed the biggest sense of urgency. Something needed to be done. I did it yesterday. I did it as quickly as I possibly could. I didn't say, oh yeah, I'll have that back to you in a week or a couple weeks. I did it right then and there so that it could be done. And when you develop this sense of urgency, it will help you get to where you need to go. But you also need to stay open. Things could fluctuate and change, and they're not always going to happen the way that you think they're going to. That's what I mean by staying open. My business partner, Grant, today has this amazing saying that is very simple, and he says it all the time. He says, we make plans and God laughs. And whatever your religious beliefs are, I think you could probably resonate with this. You've probably made plans for something, probably made very specific plans for something, and then it went completely sideways and completely different from how you thought it would go. And in reality, you can never understand exactly how things are going to play out. And you might miss very valuable opportunities that could take you to the next stage if you are not ready to recognize them just because you have a very narrow-minded view. This has been a mistake that I've made many times in my life and continue to make, and I'm always trying to reinforce this. But many times I have had a very narrow view of exactly how I think something needs to go, and then I miss opportunities that come right in front of me on a silver platter that I was prepared for that I could have done. So when opportunity knocks, ultimately you need to just answer the fucking door and answer the calling and get moving on it. So eliminate all arbitrary timelines that you have for yourself or that someone might have given you and just act on it quickly. The other thing about this, staying open and being in kill mode, is you need to chase failures like they are opportunities. Anything that you might fail on, you should chase that and you should actually hope to fail on things. And this sounds really freaking weird, but you should actually hope to fail on things because the more failures that you develop and on your track record, the longer resume of failures that you have, the more you will learn and the less you will fail in the future. Or you'll just continue failing and you'll continue failing upward. I know this sounds weird, but the biggest success stories have the longest failure resumes. So develop one. Start putting those failures on the board. Put shots on goal. Step number 6 to actually achieving your goals and becoming the person you want to become and having the best year of your life is to go far together and not fast alone. You might feel like you're the only one that has the standard that you do or the only one that can do what you're trying to do. But in reality, you are going to fall flat on your face with this mentality. You might be someone who just likes to be a master of none. And this is something I've personally struggled with. You might feel like you should and could do everything because you're the only one that has the standard that can do it the way you want to do it. But you will fall flat on your face with this. And in reality, if you find partners, if you find employees, if you find people that can help you with things, often you'll find that you have weaknesses that are strengths for other people. If you're not good at sales, go find someone who's good at sales to help you with your business and your goals, because ultimately you're not going to get very far just trying to get better at sales all the time. You should get better at sales still. And this is my personal story. I wasn't that great at sales and I've gotten better at it. But I found someone in all cases of the businesses that I've started that was good at sales and that could do sales, and it helped me grow a lot faster. When we started Chef on the Fly back in the day, I had never really sold anything in my life outside of just being a personal trainer back in the day, which I wasn't for very long. And so I needed to find someone who had been in sales for a long time. So one of my partners in that business was our full-time salesperson. He was the one taking all the sales calls, doing the outreach, and I would help from time to time, but this was someone that could really cover these areas that I was weak in and inexperienced in so that we could get faster where we were trying to go. So we got far together rather than just going somewhere fast alone. And the other side of this coin is that you need to focus on benefiting these other people. You need to become someone who everyone wants to and enjoys working with. So big key part of that is in business, if you can make other people rich, they will want to work with you and they'll make other people want to work with you. So if you can focus on really making other people rich, you will always be someone who people want to work with, and you'll be able to go very far. Step number 7, when you actually have your business figured out and you've gotten to this point, you've become the person you need to become by brainwashing yourself, becoming humble, doing all these things, understanding how to create your luck and partner with someone for the right vehicle for you. You need to actually pursue the right business opportunity. So step number 7 is to find rich people problems to solve and get bigger with them. Ignore the broke people, ignore people that don't have money to pay for your products or your services, and just focus on solving rich people problems, because rich people pay rich prices, which helps you generate more revenue and cash, which helps you grow your business and stay full-time with it and even go catabolic and scale it. When we started Chef on the Fly, we spun our wheels for 9 months of trying to actually do these one-off little jobs of placing private chefs. And in all cases, we were like failing or losing money because these were so convoluted and complicated for just one job that we didn't have the funds to be able to bring people in to solve the problems and to bring resources in to solve the problems more easily. And it just didn't make any sense to grow this way. Now, ultimately, we got this giant contract of staffing 70 people for one particular contract. And this allowed us to really invest in resources. We were able to pay people to help us and establish actual department heads and leaders and people that were covering these different business functions, and softwares that helped us speed things up and make things quicker because we had rich people paying us. We had a giant corporate client that was our rich person that was paying us that we could actually use to solve these problems. So the big thing about having rich clients and customers is that they have lower price sensitivity. They're willing to pay more so you can set higher prices. It's also typically an easier sale because they expect to budget to solve these problems. Whether it's a corporate client or just a person, they expect to be paying this money to solve their problems. And you're gonna ultimately just get less complaints too, because when they pay you, even if they pay you a lot, when they pay you, it's a smaller percentage of their overall net worth and their money to pay you. So it's not gonna bug them as much. So they're just gonna complain way less. And this is the experience we had. All business is ultimately just solving problems and getting paid to do it. And a really big hack is that if you can solve organizations and people time when you're solving their problems, that is one thing they value above all other things. Is rich people value their time. So they will pay a lot of money to save time. Just think about rich people flying on private jets to get somewhere. They spend tens of thousands of dollars for like an hour or two of travel just because it saves them time in their day, which they know they're going to use to make more money. And the right vehicle of a business and the right setup in this way will ultimately make you way richer than hard work. Ultimately, when they say work smarter, not harder, part of this is bullshit because you genuinely can just make way more money serving the right types of clients and picking the right vehicle of a business. So pick the right one from the beginning. And the other thing of this is you have to make a great offer. You have to make it unreasonable to say no to you when you're making these offers to these businesses. Our first contract that we got with our first client, we honestly got because they were in a desperate situation where they were very understaffed. But when we went to go find other clients, and I'll back up a second, when we got that first client, they put down a massive deposit of $30,000 to even get started with us, which was crazy to us at the time. We burned through it in like a week and a half or two and had to take another deposit because we were processing all this payroll and travel for people. But my point is, they were in a desperate situation. This was kind of a one-off case. When we started getting other clients, it wasn't quite this easy to sell. So what we did is we found a payroll provider partner that would actually front all the money, and then they just took a small fee for fronting that money and processing the payroll and handling billing and all this other stuff that helped save us time and process things better for us anyway. But when we could go tell a client, listen, you don't have to put any deposit down, we'll just get started and you bill as you go. This was a way easier sell that we were able to do, and we were able to get more clients because we just had a better offer. Number 8, and the final step, is even when you've done all these things, you've like prepared yourself and you've selected the right vehicle, even if you have a vehicle where it is easy to make money and get clients, you still have to put in so much work that it would be unreasonable not to succeed. Put in so much work that for you not to succeed, you have to either be an idiot or you're lying about how much work you did. Just outwork literally everyone, especially everyone who's more successful than you, because you have to try to catch up to them. You are never going to catch up with them if you don't put in the kind of work that they put in to get where they're at and are probably still putting in. So while you're putting in all this work, you need to get your income to exceed in your business what you were making in your full-time job before you quit. So to recap some of this stuff, you need to get your income to match or exceed your current job before you actually quit. This is what I did with Chef on the Fly. I was making money very quickly, way more quickly than I was making it in this other job that I was working. So I saw this was an actual possibility. You need to earn your freedom. You owe it to yourself to just put it all out on the table right now and work way harder than you even thought you could. And ultimately, you're going to thank yourself for it because you're going to become the person that you want to be on the journey of putting in all this work, even though it's hard. You need to fall in love with the work because the work will work on you more than you work on it. I'll say that again. The work will work on you more than you work on it. And it will completely transform you into a different person. When I look back at who I was and how I felt about myself, my confidence in all these things, before I ever became an entrepreneur, before I got into self-improvement, I didn't love myself. I love myself now. I've become someone I can actually respect and feel good about because I've put in all this work. All of that putting in work is what transformed me into someone I can feel confident about and good about. And that's how it'll happen for you. And ultimately, this will all just make you into the person that you were born to be and give you the success that you were meant to have and that you deserve to have because you put in the work. So you've put in these 8 steps, right? You've become him or her. You've brainwashed yourself into being someone who will succeed. You've then humbled yourself so that you're not all egotistical and you still know you have to put in hard work. You've then created the conditions to have luck and capitalize on luck. And you're staying open while going into kill mode. And you've gone and found partners that can allow you to go far together rather than fast alone. You've found rich people problems to solve and a way to actually solve them effectively. And then you've committed to continue doing whatever it takes to succeed through putting in the work. And ultimately, if you do all of this for an amount of time that would make it unreasonable to succeed, and you do this all year, 2025 will be the best year of your life so far, and you will have unlocked freedom mode. Now that I am a full-time entrepreneur, I genuinely feel like I have unlocked freedom mode, and I have gotten to a place that I want to be. It makes me really happy. And if you enjoyed anything from this video, I just launched a digital community for entrepreneurs and business owners, whether you're already one or aspiring to be one, that helps you grow your business, buy businesses, sell businesses, or do any of the types of things that lead up to that. And it is an absolutely poppin' group. We've got awesome people in there already, and it's gonna be growing fast. So check it out in the link in the description, and I'll see you on the next video.